What's good, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself. Today, guys, we're looking at Gold Rathian, the second of the Metal Wraths, if you will. Now, Gold Rathian is just like her counterpart, the Silver Rathlos, an old school beast who made their debut in the first generation, I believe, in the Jeering versions of those games. Nevertheless, the Gold Rathian is again very much like Silver Rathlos. You'll hear me say that quite a bit today, where they are just, if anything, the amalgamation of all that is Rathian, much like Silver's all there is Rathlos. So you'll see a lot of things from standard Rathian to pink Rathian to gold. Dread Queen as well. Dread Queen was a thing. Think of it like Apex Rathian. Was there Apex Rathian in this game? Base Rise? I don't know. But anyway, you will see a lot of things. For those who've played all the Monster Hunter games, or most of them, the majority of them, at least Generations at least, you'll see a lot of similarities with a lot of the attacks that monster has, or it has there, and what it has now. Granted, there's a couple of things that it has that's completely new to itself, which is super cool. I like to call it like a gold thing, almost like the gold standard, if you will. But there's a lot of interesting attacks that it has that it never had before. Nevertheless, just like its Silver counterpart, it has a charge up state that it gained in Iceborne, I believe. So I'm pretty sure it never really had it before. But in this particular charge up state, again, just like the Silver Rathlos, I'm probably going to try not to say that often, but I will definitely end up saying it quite a bit. It has a mode where it shoots blue fireballs, and in this particular case, when it shoots the blue fireballs, it gets hecka turned up. It has a lot of things that is very similar to its normal state whenever it's in the blue state, the fireballs that is, where it has a particular pattern where it shoots left, right, and center, does a spin, and then shoots another big fireball. It has the exact same thing in the blue state, the charge up state, if you will, where it's, again, the same thing. Left, right, center, does a spin, shoots a bigger fireball. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this particular fireball in and of itself, you can actually block. There is a variant of it where it's actually, I think, 3 explosions. It's kind of hard. Like, you know how, well, Rathos normally steps back a couple of steps, shoots a really big fireball. It has that. But it has that in this charge up state, and it will shoot that in and of itself by itself, but I don't think it steps back to do it. So it's something you have to watch out for. There's certain fireballs it does have that in my opinion are okay to block, because you're not going to take a whole lot of chip. There's some that aren't okay, because if you block it, you're going to take a whole lot of chip. Now, very akin to the Silver Rathlos, when it's in the charge up state, you have to slap it in his head slap it in his head quite a bit, and then it's actually going to, like, chill, you know what I mean? It'll go into a weird state where it like falls out of it and everything, and you're able to actually slap it again. Granted, it has certain attacks, and older attacks take on certain different almost call them permissions, properties when it's in this charge up state. So it'll have the attack where it'll fly in the sky, shoot a giant fireball down at the ground, a blue one, if you will. That one is not necessarily safe to block because it takes a lot of chip. I talked about the one where it like shoots the one big one and it's like 3 hits as opposed to 1. That one's also not very safe to block. Outside of that, it has a whole suite of different ways. Well, not a suite of different ways, but it does have the tail flip still. Very akin to how it always does the tail flip, and at least in this case, gold is a little more, how do I put it? You can pretty much chart a course on it, you know what I mean? It's very, very simple as to how it actually does it. So in its charge state or whatever, or I think when it's just mad, not just the charge state, it'll do the tail flip in the air, and it'll do one maneuver. It'll like sidestep to the left and it'll do another tail flip. Now, this is when I like to think it's slightly nerfed, because I've seen Gold Rathian, or heck, not just Gold Rathian, Rathian itself do a whole lot more sauce with the tail flip. I've seen it do crooked tail flip into fly, into change direction, into fireball, into change direction, into fly. I've seen it do tail flip into tail flip into tail flip. Yes, 3 tail flips. But in this one, it'll do tail flip, or it'll do tail flip into side change, into tail flip, and then it'll drop on the ground again. That's like all it will do. So it's very, very, you kind of know what was coming out of it. You know what I mean? It's pretty flat when it does that. But it still can bop you. The first tail flip is slow. The second tail flip is very fast. Like the first one, you can see it coming from a mile away. The second one, I get caught with it quite a bit. Maybe not in this gameplay, probably in this gameplay, but definitely like afterwards. So the second tail flip, if you know it's coming, just note your warning is when it does the side change, because once it does the side change, it's for sure going to do the second tail flip. Okay, outside of those particular attacks, it will throw at you a whole different couple of ways to do the tail flip. It'll do a fly into a weird crooked tail flip. It'll do the crooked tail flip right off the gate. it's pretty cool. You know what I mean? It has a lot of cool ways to do the tail. Now, almost every single time it hits you with the tail, be it a tail whip, a tail sweep where like it'll fly at you, then sweep the tail at you. All of these will give you poison. It's not the greatest, most daunting thing in the galaxy. It's poison, but getting hit with the tail in almost any capacity will bleed. It will poison you. So that's something to totally watch out for. Please don't get hit with it like all nonchalant, because the tail flip does do a grand amount of damage. And if you're caught with the first one and you think, oh, I'm just gonna thug it, don't, because the second one's for sure coming and you're gonna get bodied with it. So be wary about the tail flip. It does do a lot of damage. Almost anything that hits you with the tail will give you the the poison. So watch out for all tail attacks. So it has the tail attacks, the fireballs, the flying isn't too crazy. It will fly, and essentially it flying exists almost exclusively to set up another combo chain, if you will. So it'll fly, probably shoot a fireball and come down and like run at you with its talons, or it'll like fly then come at you with another tail flip. It doesn't fly like Rathian's flies, where it flies and does things. It just sets itself up to do other things with it. With that said, Gold Rathian, in my opinion, my full-on opinion in this particular iteration of it, is a little bit more nerfed because it's a lot more predictable. Like, as I was going through this fight, yeah, I was getting bodied a little bit, I won't lie to you guys, but I was able to, within the same singular fight, think, okay, it's doing this, it's immediately going to do this after that. Oh, it's doing this, it's immediately going to do this after that. It's incredibly flowcharty. I've never seen Gold be this flowchart, especially in Iceborne. Iceborne Gold, that was the demon. Did not like that lady at all. And this one, a lot more tame. Not to say it's not a bad monster. It's just that I would totally prefer soloing Gold Rathian in this game versus Iceborne. So in my personal opinion, I believe Gold Rathian to be a little bit more easier to Silver Rathalos in this game, and a lot easier than what it was in Iceborne. Because in Iceborne, I would much rather fight the Silver Rathalos over the Gold Rathian, because the Gold Rathian was a monster. But that's neither here nor there. What is here is the fight is still really good. It will still body you. It will force you to adjust to certain attacks that it will throw at you, whether it be at random or, like I said before, in this very flowchart manner. At the end of the day, it's still a really powerful monster. I still get bodied with the tail flip multiple times, even though I know it's coming, because I either block late or I go to swing at it and I hit the tail. The tail is incredibly armored. I think you need purple to even slap the tail. I think you just need Mind's Eye to slap the tail. Because a lot of times I'll go to attack the monster, accidentally attack the tail, I'm left in a stagger state, and I gotta hold the L, you know what I mean? But moving on. So outside of that, let's actually take a look at the gear. The gear is tremendous. It's actually very interesting. Like, the armor is super interesting. Let's talk about that. So the first thing you'll probably notice when you look at Gold Rathian's armor is the array of skills that it has. It has a whole gang of these joints. Now, the cool thing about it is that it's definitely one of those armor sets where you look at it and you're like, okay, all of this together may be nice, but it's definitely going to be really nice to actually have a mix set to go with it. But nevertheless, let's talk about what it can do off the top. So we're looking at status trigger. Status trigger is very akin to like hone blade scale, or blade scale, whatever, I think is how I pronounce it, the Surgios skill, where if you perfectly time and evade when a monster goes to slap you, an effect happens. Well, in this case, the abnormal status buildup for your attacks actually gets increased, in this particular case, by 12 additional seconds. So, you know, when you status a monster, poison, whatever, after a while, when you hit it, the more you hit it, the higher the buildup is. It increases, you know, same with that. So you're actually able to poison the monster, or status the monster, if you will, even easier with this particular skill. Even easier than it probably already is, for an additional 12 seconds. After that, we're looking at Foray. If you guys remember Foray, Foray was on the Espinos. Espinos had it on level 3, but nevertheless, the same issue applies. When a monster is poisoned, paralyzed, or blighted in some regard, you get an attack and affinity bonus. It's like almost like Agitator. But speaking of Agitator, wait, not there yet. Chain Crit, the Astral skill, where when you continuously slap the monster, you get an attack and elemental increase. Now, moving over. Speaking of Agitator, Defiance is literally Agitator, but for defense. Now, I firmly believe Defiance is actually really, really dumb. It's stupid good. At level 5, it gives, okay, whenever the monster is pissed, you get an increase to your defense up to 30. Well, yeah, up to 30. You're resistant to wind, dragon wind, so the Kush stuff, the black wind, Your weak, your resistance to roars, be it strong, weak, and powerful roars. I mean, it's like super rock steady, and defense. So again, nullifies roars, period. Nullifies wind, period. Nullifies tremors, period. And you get their defense, godlike. Counter Strike, Divine Blessing 3, Critical Boost, Peak Performance 3, Evade 1 of 2, and Recovery up. A whole swath of abilities they can probably use to make a pretty outrageous set, or mix around and do what you like, or keep the whole set as is and gem in the things you like. It has quite a few gems as well. Now, the armor, the weapons for the monster, well, Gold Ian, pretty solid. The best you can really get out of this is like poison. They're pretty good poison weapons. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, they're pretty good. 330 is roughly the average, I believe, and you get about 40 poison or something like that. I don't think it doesn't go natural purple. I think that's regular, but it's still pretty good. So if you want a poison weapon, there you go. It's probably the best poison weapon in the game. Okay, so with everything being said, let's look at Gold Rathian one more time. Gold Rathian is an old school monster. It was there with his husband back in the olden days, where G rank was like, we need some extra sauce. What we gonna do? Boom, we'll give you a new rare species. That's a whole new thing, and we're gonna give it to the 2 flagship monsters of the particular series. And they've been in basically every game since. They've always, well, maybe not the base games, but they've always made an appearance afterwards. They were always the full amalgamation of everything the Rathian or the Rathians had to offer. And it's good to see that, like, it even stems to Dread Queen. So the deviant monsters, the apex monsters, all the subspecies it has, it's just a huge melting pot of abilities and things that it can do, on top of the fact that the generational shifts allowed it to actually have additional characteristics to go with it as well. I mean, I'm looking directly at Rakdos, who got the really cool, like, continuous fire breath thing that he was supposed to have had since like day 1, but he finally got it in 5th gen, so I'm glad they really gave him that. And Rathian has this huge multi-hitting fireball now, as opposed to just like the 1, so that's seriously freaking cool. On top of the blue flames, you know what I mean? All great stuff. So at the end of the day, Gold Rathian is not as tough as I think it used to be. It is still a very, very tough monster. However, there's still a bunch of things you have to watch out for. Whenever it's in rage, you really want to hit it in the head. Hitting in the head or in the chest area, wherever it's glowing and nice and pretty, will allow it to actually like force it out of that particular mode, so that way you're not slapped all day. Outside of that, you have to watch out for a couple of tricks. It does have some pretty how do you want to call it, like pretty flowchart kind of tactics where it goes in the air, so it's pretty easy to kind of get around that. However, it still will bust you up with some weird cross up tail flippy kind of stuff, so kind of watch out for that. It's a little tricky in some regards, as well as this blue fireball with the multi-hitting attack, and also with the standard fireball with it having not necessarily additional properties, but it can still hit you with a really tough one. Outside of that, it's just a Rathian at the end of the day. But with all that being said, everyone, it's been your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you guys. I probably recorded this video over 3 days. It was a weird, making this video was kind of weird, but I thought it was kind of cool though. Gold Rathian is still a really cool monster. I just didn't have the time to actually do it all in one sitting, but I still think it's fine. I have actually still, even as I speak currently to this day, have yet to fight the Lucid Nargacuga in this game. I will try to do that very soon. Maybe today. I don't know, dude. I'm stupid tired. So if not today, probably tomorrow. And then the day, whenever I do it, it'll be the day I release that video finally. And then after that, we'll go back to the standard videos and whatnot. I only have the remainder of this week, so like 3 more days, where I have to like work incredible amounts of overtime to make up for like all the money I have to spend on getting my car fixed, which is 4 digits, might I add. I'm not gonna say exactly how much because I don't want people to like freak out, but yeah, so soon I'll be back at making videos about every single day. Quality videos, I like to add, instead of like kind of slap bashing stuff together, because I don't have as much time as I used to hunt these monsters. I fought this thing 3 times. That's it. I've only fought it 3 times, so there's probably some things in here that I'm missing. Hopefully I didn't miss too much. Hope the video still finds you all well. What else do I have? I don't think I have anything else after that. Yeah, that's about it. You all know what the dilly is. It's been your boy, the Dig Dugger himself. May the Desire Center forever be in your favor.